secondary page here. Your position tree is fine, but for domination, I've seen some players try this, and you never want to go Taste of Blood. Sudden Impact is always going to be better on Jax. Taste of Blood is more for lane bullies who can activate it easier. And you're just going to get more damage off of Sudden Impact here. You're not really aiming for sustain. And for your build, you're against 3 AP champions, and so Wits End definitely was a good purchase here. I think that was very good value. However, you don't want to delay this Ravenous Hydra this long. You want to get this like right after you get your Wits End. After you get your first core item, Triforce, you get that Wits End so they don't get one-shot by the AP champs, and then you go for Ravenous Hydra for sustain and for clearing. Getting the stacks in between is just not going to be as good, in my opinion. You can get that later on, after you farmed up a bit more. And another thing to note is that you win Ignite. So Ignite on top laners, in my opinion, and in most pro players' opinions, you should only go Ignite on top laners who require it to succeed. Jax is a solo queue champ, so I understand that people want to go Ignite sometimes to help build leads and smurf and low elo, but I guarantee you this is not necessary. You're going to be able to do more with TP than Ignite on most top laners, especially like Jax, who's a split pusher. Going Ignite here is putting you at a disadvantage in higher levels of play, and you want to practice using TP anyways, because you shouldn't need to rely on Ignite to win your lane and get solo kills. You should be able to do that through good wave management and through just good top lane gameplay in general. So trust me, you don't need Ignite. Please focus on bringing TP. It is the better summoner spell. You should only go Ignite if like it's too good to pass up, and in this game, you do not need Ignite. And so as you can see, TF Blade goes to a similar page, he goes some other weird stuff, but he's not going for that Taste of Blood. And enough of that, let's go ahead and dive right into the gameplay, because for the most part your build and runes were fine. Nothing troll or anything. And so yeah, let's go ahead and start talking about the matchup here. So versus Nasus, this is a very linear matchup, very easy for Jax. Same thing happens every time usually. And basically, a good Nasus player is going to play really safe, and he's just going to let you push in. And so the number one mistake, I'll let you guess later on here, which you do make, I've already seen this VOD, and basically you have two options here to manage the wave level 1. Either you can cheese the wave to help make him push into you with this push here, you aggro the minions, they'll hit you, and then they'll push into you a little bit, but that doesn't really matter, because you're going to fight Nasus no matter what early on. You want to bully him, you want to make sure he doesn't scale up. And so you're generally starting bot. I recommend you stand in this bush here when you're guarding your red buff. That way if the enemies invade through this way you don't get caught out. But I mean, overall that doesn't really matter too much. And so yeah, let's go ahead and go back to the actual laning phase here. And so in most melee versus melee matchups where you have the advantage, you want to slow push. You want to suffocate the enemy out of as much gold and XP as possible. And so you only want to hit the first 3 minions like once to establish a slow push. And right here, you see Nasus is walking into lane from the river. This is actually a good opportunity for you. Because you want to fight this Nasus, you can actually zone him off of the first 3 creeps by just walking into him here. Just walk into this Nasus and start zoning him with your E. If he tries to fight you, you press E and run him down. It doesn't really matter if he has more minions because you're just a stronger champ. And right here, like, this should not be allowed. Nasus can't walk up versus Jax level 1 like this. He should have started E and farm from a distance. And so, like, right here, you just want to run him down. Okay, very good auto spacing. Well played. There's not much you could do better than that. The Nasus screwed up and you punished him for it. Good auto attack there to trade back when Nasus went for a trade. And so right here, you don't want to get too excited. Here, you're making the big mistake that people make in these types of matchups. You want to slow push. Only hit the minions when they're less hittable. Do not touch any of these minions right now. You only want to hit them when they're less hittable because you want to slow push into this guy and eventually go for either a dive, a cheater recall, or a dive with your jungler, like spamming your jungler to go for a dive. Like right here, you should not be hitting those minions. You're going to hit level 2 either way, and so you just, that was a good tread right there. You didn't expect level 2 for some reason. So yeah, so far, I mean, you're playing the trades well, but you only want to hit these minions when you're slow pushing, because otherwise the wave gets like this. It gets stuck in front of their turret, and they're going to be able to farm it. And there's not much you can really do about it. Like right there, you try to jump on him and contest him getting those minions, and you ended up taking turret shot for it. And so right here, you also don't want to use your E. If you're going to go for a dive anyways, you're just wasting your E by using it here. It's not going to deal any meaningful damage in your push because you don't even have the minions attacking you. You're not absorbing damage if you counter strike. And so right here, you do want to at least fight back versus this guy. He can't just walk up to you. And so as soon as you see Evelyn, you just think to yourself, okay, yeah, I'm going to die here. Just go for the 1-for-1 trade here. And so you don't want to Q auto immediately here. I actually think it's better to flash auto Q. And the reason why is because if this Nasus has any brands at all, he's just going to walk back or flash away, and then you're going to die for no reason, and you're not going to kill this guy. You want to gap close with your flash first, and the reason why is because there's no way for Nasus to dodge your Q auto damage. Once that goes through, even if the Nasus flashes, he dies. And so right here, you do still go up 1-for-1, but if this Nasus was a more competent player, he would have just backed off or flashed away, and you would have died for no reason and gotten very little. And you'd be in a really bad spot because you also don't have TP. You can't really recover from this as well as Nasus can. And so I think you didn't really play that optimally. You still played it well for the most part. You turned on the Nasus 1-for-1. That's really the best you could have done there. Otherwise, you would just dive him if Evelyn wasn't there. So, I mean, the result is pretty much the same. And now that this wave has bounced back and Nasus is pushing into you, you just want to go for a freeze. And if this Nasus ever walks up, you just go in. You are a stronger champion at this stage because you have that kill advantage over the Nasus. The Evelyn is the one who got the kill, and you just have a better item than him. You have Sheen. And so like you just start running this guy down right here. You could have just kept going. This Nasus is retarded and keeps walking up, so it's okay to just jump back in on him, but that won't always happen. You also did Q a minion. You want to make sure you keybind that target champ's only key to something, because that helps prevent mistakes like that. And the Nasus flashes too late and takes the Q auto before you can flash out of it. And so yeah, that was well done by you. The Nasus trolled that really hard, but here you wanna trim this wave a bit and set up for a freeze. Don't hit the minions too much yet. You want to start trimming it out after your minions start dying, and so like right now. So you're doing a good job doing that here. Good wave management so far for the most part, just some slight inaccuracies with the slow push. And so yeah, it's going to be the same thing here again. You still have a freeze, you have the item advantage, you have the XP advantage. If this guy walks up, just walk into him, start fighting. It allows you to save your Q for more gap closing if he withers you. So like right here, just walk into him. You don't really have anything to be afraid of, you just deal way too much damage. So yeah, there you go. There's nothing he can do about this except whine for his jungler. And so yeah, so far so good. I will say though, you want to go for a ward all around like right now. Or even before that, because there is a chance you get baited in by the Evelyn, and then you just die for no reason. That happens all the time to Jax players. Because it's kind of unlikely that she's here, because she just ganked you, but there's always the chance that they're duo and you're just going to get camped or something. So just be careful about that. And so yeah, recalling immediately is best here. I'm actually surprised you did that. A lot of low elo players would just sit here and keep autoing the wave and like just keep farming, and it would be a very slow process. It's actually most efficient to recall right after getting a soul kill like that, because you have your next wave coming in pretty soon here, and these minions here are enough to hold the enemy minion wave from crashing. And so this is actually a super good recall by you here. Only very good players will realize this. And so I don't know if this was intentional or not, but that was a perfect recall, because you get to keep your freeze, you get to get your items, and this Nasus is in the same situation as before. So this is the most impressive thing I've seen so far with wave management. Good job to you. And yeah, you basically just freeze this wave again here. You can always use your E to absorb minion aggro too. But yeah, don't hit the minions this much though. Don't hit them this much, otherwise they'll slow push back in. So yeah, right here you're kind of breaking your freeze. So although you did do a very impressive recall, it's kind of all for nothing if you're just going to break your freeze like this. So I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to take back what I said earlier. This is no longer frozen, and this Nasus is going to have a wave to catch. So, big no-no. Keep that freeze versus Nasus. Versus Nasus, the only way to really shut this champ out of the game is to freeze. And so, you could have held on to that a lot longer. This next wave here is going to crash in now. And you're not going to have a freeze anymore. And so even though you are still really ahead. You could be even more ahead if you had frozen another wave. And that is a little thing, but it does matter. It does add up. And so right here, I don't really think anything special happens. After crashing in a huge wave like this, that's a good opportunity to actually dive. You're far enough ahead to where you should have the damage to just dive this dude. You just have to make sure to get a ward down around right here. But trust me, you can solo dive a pre-6 Nasus if you're like level 7 here. He was level 4 when you were level 7. All you have to do, especially if you're Ignite, is first you trade with him a little bit under turret. So like you stand next to him here and start autoing him. And then as soon as he presses Wither, you disengage. You can jump out to a minion. You can jump out to a minion this way. And then you'll only take like one turret shot. And then his W will be down. After his W is down, you just straight up dive him. And so that's the way you want to play it if you really want to kill this guy. As long as you have a ward here, it's not the riskiest thing in the world. But instead you opt to just not really do much. Because I guarantee you after diving him, you'd be healthy enough to fight Evelyn as well. That's how far ahead you are right now. And so yeah, right here, there's not much for you to do here. You just want to let him push back in. He also get a trade though. What's this guy doing? Okay, never mind. He's just inting, so I guess you take advantage of that. But normally, a player's just going to push back in slowly. And you want to let that push back into you, because you want to freeze again. Luckily this guy's really bad, so he lets you just kill him. And yeah, you would want to shove this in afterwards. Usually after you kill your laner like 3 or 4 times, you want to start expending your lead. So it is about time to stop freezing and start taking jungle camps, start aiming for 10 CS per minute. So far I think you're playing this pretty well. And this Nasus is playing it horribly. And so yeah, now that you know that you're really ahead, this Nasus is bad, he's not going to carry the game, you want to start thinking about how you can transfer your lead across the map. And this is where Ignite versus TP comes into play. Because you don't have TP, you're limited to your top lane still. There's not really much more you can do here. Right here, you should just go in. There's no reason to be scared here, like just jump on him. You just saw that Evelyn was bot, and so there's no reason to not jump in there for the Nasus. You're not really going to carry the game just by freezing alone. You need to transfer your lead. This guy's out of the game already. You want to start making plays elsewhere. And the way that you do this is by shoving, taking farmer on the map, including your own jungler's Krugs, taking scuttle crabs when they're up, such as the scuttle right here that's up, and then taking enemy jungle camps that are up as well. You want to do all these things after shoving in waves so that you can build your lead and help take camps away from the enemy jungler. Because right now, like, their jungler is actually taking these Krugs. You could have taken these. You could have taken the scuttle as well. And then you can set up more plays for your team. Because you're fed enough to where you can fight 1v2, even if you get ganked while trying to do these things. You shouldn't be worried about this Nasus anymore at this point. Okay, so here we have a juicy 1v2 situation. You should win this. All you have to do... Okay, hold on, we'll go back for a second. All you have to do to win a 1v2 in this situation is hold your E. The key to good Jax plays is holding your E and using it in the most optimal way possible. And so, one thing people don't really realize about Jax is that he will one-shot you when he's this ahead, if you're squishy. And the way that you want to do that is by holding your full combo, which is like your counter strike and then your auto W reset. You're going to hold that to one-shot the squishy target. So when you jump on Nasus here, you want to hold your E in case you're getting ganked at this stage, because there's no reason for a Nasus to walk up unless he knows this jungler is here. You just want to keep that in mind. But you can still win this. As long as you focus this Evelyn and get good auto resets like you just did, you could still win this fight. So very good job following her ulti there. You can kind of whiff your flash. Evelyn didn't have flash. And like right here, you need to be walking back. You want to walk away from the Nasus and let your abilities come back up. And then, if your abilities come back up in time, like your E's almost up here. This is so close, it's crazy. He flashes out. You need to run away as soon as you see him flash, otherwise you will die when your E's gone. So yeah, you kind of got hard punished for that. But I think you could have definitely killed them both yourself there. You just need to play with a bit more precision mechanically. And so yeah, that is kind of a throw. It's going to help Nasus be back in the game, but you can still win this. You still have that lead, you can still jump on this guy. And now you're really starting to shove instead of freezing. And so yeah, now you're going for the scuttle crabs, now you're going for the jungle camps. This is what you should have been doing earlier. So yeah, this is what I wanted to see earlier. Bad things are happening. Mid lane, bot lane. Just ignore the rest of the map and focus on getting as much farm as possible. This guy imps again. Good job killing him. But you want to be making sure you get control wards for Evelyn in case you're getting ganked in the future. Although she wasn't there at that time, sometimes you're just not going to know. And then you might have just gotten a bad 1v2 again before. So yeah, now you definitely know Evelyn's bot, so that means free turret. That means you should be able to take her jungle camps afterward as well. Make sure you get her blue buff, make sure you get her gromp.
Red team has slain the dragon.
And like right here, there's no reason to recall. Just Nasus has no ulti, the rest of the team's bot. Go take jungle camps. You're missing out on free stuff. You're missing out on taking stuff away from their jungler. You're just missing out on things you could be doing here. Because you even put a word there, you saw that the camps were up. You can even think about doing Rift Herald. Eventually you can just solo Rift Herald. Who's gonna stop you? That's how strong you are right now. So yeah, right now, you end up making back to the scuttle. Is it time to kill Nasus again? Yeah, looks like you're a bit more wary this time. You realize that Evelyn might be here. I think. Either way, it doesn't matter though. Just build your passive stacks and you can still 1v2 as long as you focus the Evelyn. So yeah, get this wave shoved in and start taking more things around the map. Because some people think that Nasus is like a hard scaling champ that no one can beat, but that's not true. Nasus is not that useful later in the game, even if he has lots of stacks. A lot of times, if you play Nasus, you'll realize even if you have like 800 stacks, you can still be useless in team fights. And so you don't need to worry about him scaling up too hard, because you scale up hard as well. And I believe that instead of recalling, like, you should be getting this Rift Herald. This Rift Herald should be gone by now. And by getting that Rift Herald, you can basically just force down even more turrets here. This turret could be gone by now if you had a Rift. And every time they fight bot lane, you just put that Rift Herald down, and boom, half their base is gone. So yeah, looks like this guy ends again. Good job killing him. I'm not really going over it too much because it's just auto attacks. It's not really too much for me to cover. And those Nasus 1v1s. Yeah, you kind of get baited in by the Evelyn there. Yeah, even if you do want to 1v1 this Evelyn, you're at risk of being outplayed. Evelyn has flash. You don't always know if she has ultimate or not. But it's just too risky to go for something like this when you have a bounty. In solo queue, one of the biggest things you should always be worried about is giving up your bounty. And so, like, you still could have run away here, but you're doomed as soon as you jump back in. Just walk to your minions here and try to look for a Q out if you're in a situation like that, or just back off. You had already killed the Nasus. You had already established your lead. You just need to transfer it. You don't need to be worrying about killing everyone in the top lane. Especially when you have dragon spawning, you want to make sure you run over to this dragon and guarantee that your team gets it as soon as you respawn here. And you end up going top lane. If you have no TP, you have to go to drag if you want your team to get this. Otherwise, you're just hoping your team can do it themselves, and I guarantee you that's not always going to be the case. So yeah, your team loses the fight, you have no impact over it, they get the dragon. I'm sure they're upset with you or something. I'm not sure what's going on in the chat, but this would be your fault. That dragon is going to be more important than 2 waves at this stage. You need to expand your lead. Otherwise, you're basically letting the enemies have more of a chance of shutting you down. So now you decide to go bot. Not quite sure what the reasoning behind this is. the dragon's already gone, so there's no reason to be down here now. And I guess it's because you want to be opposite side of dragon. I mean, sorry, not dragon, baron. But even this is bad. Because you don't have TP, if the enemy team starts baron, what are you going to do? You have to walk all the way over there. And this is the problem about playing Ignite Jax. You can only split these on the side of baron. If the enemy team goes and forces baron, you have to be topside to get there in time. You're basically on a little island down here, and there's not really going to be much for you to do. And so you should be top lane here. Sending your Misfortune and your ADC up here is kind of troll. Even if it gets them like a kill here, you should still be the one top lane. Because you should be focusing on this Baron. On Jax, if you have TP you can split on the opposite side of objectives, but if you don't, then you need to be at the objective. And that goes for not just Jax actually, but for pretty much all top laners. And so yeah, now you're top lane, this is where you should be since you don't have TP. At this stage you don't want to get cut out, so recalling is fine after shoving in waves. This is where you have your Wits in, and now you're going for Styrax. You should be going for Ravenous Hydra at this stage. And I actually agree with going mid here. Objectives are spawning and you want to be mid so you can go help the team. Oh yeah, support, huh? I guess you want to go up and kill the Nasus again. I know you want to kill this Nasus, but trust me, Dragon is more important. Nasus will come to Dragon and you can kill him there. He has TP. There's no reason to walk up here. I guarantee you Nasus would have TP'd to a drag fight, potentially. I mean, I guess you could have taken your base too, but... in all EO games, people are stupid. I guarantee you he may have just TP'd the dragon in the first place. And now, once again, your team's gonna lose a dragon because you're not wanting to contest it at all. Looks like the Nasus thought he would win after 6 unsuccessful attempts, and good job punishing him for that. But now, you don't want to be worried about getting cleaned up. Nice, very good escape here. Let's see if you Q out here. Nice. So yeah, that was good. Now you want to just do the Kruggies. No, don't recall, do the Kruggies. Alright, I'm just gonna skip past all this stuff. Basically, you should have been taking so much more farm around the map. I feel like you should be at 10 CS per minute. Oh boy. Okay, Nasus ints again. I feel like you should be at 10 farm per minute by now, given how much control you have over one side of the map. There's no reason not to have 10 CS per minute, and you have this much of a lead over the Nasus. And now it looks like after about 28 minutes, you finally decide it is time to team fight with the team. Or not, I guess? But here's the thing, there's nothing up, so even if you may have wanted to team fight there, there's no objectives to fight over. And once again, you don't have TP, so you're restricted to being around top lane in order for the Baron to not be at stake. Let's see if Nasus wins it this time. Oh no, he's winning! Oh boy. Looks like after 7 unsuccessful attempts, Nasus is finally strong enough to hold his own. And unfortunately, that's kind of just how Nasus works. And this is kind of just what happens when you focus solely on the 1v1 versus Nasus. It really doesn't matter how many times you kill him. This champion is going to scale pretty much no matter what, as long as his team is winning. And his team is winning. He's getting carried. As long as he has a team, he's going to get free scaling, and you need to realize you're not going to win the game by just tunneling on the Nasus. So yeah. Now Nasus has a bounty. I know, it's always sad seeing enemies that you've shoved into the dirt so hard to get this bounty, but if you really think about whose fault it is, first of all, yes, your team does suck. This Misfortune is trolling and Soraka is inting. Your team does suck, but ultimately there's so much more you could have done for them.
Blue team has slain the dragon.
I'm not too sure how this game starts to become over or whatever yet, but right now, at this stage as Jax, you have to be top set all the time because of Baron, and you should really just be farming. You haven't entered any team fights at all this game, and I understand that you may think Jax is a champion that splits to win only, but I guarantee you, if you watch the best Jax players, such as TF Blade or Rangers EX, they don't just stay in the side lane the whole game. They will transfer their lead at some point, I guarantee it. They will show up for a dragon fight, they will take Rift Herald, they will take the objectives with their team. I think you should have taken Rift Herald earlier in the game, and I think that you should have gotten at least 2 drags for your team early on, because that's when you had your biggest lead over the Nasus. But now you're in a position to where you and the Nasus are actually close to even in terms of power. And so this game pretty much just comes down to who's going to have the better team fight. Because if you don't have TP, you can't split to win at this stage. That's the problem with taking Ignite. It's a bit too late to force this Nasus under turrets and stuff. So yeah, looks like you can do a nice pick here. So nice, your team gets some really good picks here. I believe you played this pretty well, I don't have much to say about that. And so after getting Baron here, this is pretty huge for your team. Why are we not doing Baron? Very interesting. So right here, Baron's the right play here. You just kill pretty much the whole team, go to the Baron. There's no reason not to take it. Getting Baron, whoever gets Baron this game gets the biggest advantage, because that's what you need to end the game. But instead, looks like y'all are more concerned about the soul. And I guess the soul is alright. I guarantee you that y'all could have taken Baron and then maybe even walked over to soul right after. You just have to make those shot calls immediately. Now it looks like their team gets the soul anyways, even though your team decided to go to it first. Okay. I don't know what this macro was, but basically your team should have done Baron there. I think no matter what, Baron might have even been more important than soul there. Because in order to like win this game, it's going to take an ace and then a push, and you need Baron sometimes in order to get that push. So yeah, this is not a good fight in the mid lane. Misfortune is bot, Soraka's not here yet. Engaging here is really troll. If anything, you should be... Yeah, if anything, you should be running away. Even if you get a kill there, it's not worth it. Because this Nasus is having free reign in the side lane. Oh no, we're so sad to watch this Nasus who hinted so hard. He's now carrying the game in the side lane. And yeah, looks like the game's over after this. So yeah, this was a really this was a side game to watch, but I do find that this is usually the problem that Jax players will go through. Basically, you've made mistakes boiled down to 3. 1, early game, you need to slow push. Slow pushing is the way to punish melee versus melee matchups when you have a lead, and set up dives, and set up huge waves so you can 1v2. Because having a huge minion wave will help you 1v2 as the enemy drop more. Number 2, you need to take TP. If you had TP, you could have actually split this game, but because you didn't have TP, you can't split because Nasus is too tanky for you to straight up just dive under turret and then like take their base. You can't take their base when Nasus is able to not be diveable. If Nasus is not diveable, you can't play for split the whole time. You have to group. And so the third point, force objectives. To expand this huge lead you have, all you have to do is walk over to the objectives when they're spawning. Walk over to that Drake at around 30 seconds, and you'll get it every single time if you ever lead like this. You will carry those team fights. The enemy top laner will die if they TP and try to stop you, because you have that huge lead. And in some games you do need to split to win, but if you're taking Ignite, you can't really do that on Jax very, very well. If you're playing Tryndamere, it's a different story. But yeah, I think that about wraps this up. I hope that you learned some useful information from this VOD review. I'm sorry if I sounded condescending. I was mostly just trying to make a point. You actually played very well this game mechanically on Jax. It's just the macro really fell off later. You had very good macro in lane. You had very good wave management at some points, but it all just kind of went to waste later on. And I believe